The Carxian war beasts had been the terror of 14 star systems before humanity encountered them. Standing 8 feet tall on 4 muscular legs, with razor-sharp mandibles and armored carapaces that could deflect plasma fire, they were bred for one purpose: to hunt and kill. The Galactic Council had lost countless soldiers trying to contain them during the Carxian Rebellion. That was before Trinity Romano found one bleeding out in the wreckage of a supply convoy. "Vincent, I need the medical kit." Now, Trinity knelt beside the wounded creature, her combat boots crunching on broken glass and twisted metal. The war beast's 3 eyes flickered weakly, its breathing labored. "Have you lost your mind?" Vincent Chin backed away, his rifle trained on the alien predator. "That thing killed half of Outpost 7 last month. Just let it die. It's scared and hurt. Look at its eyes." Trinity's hands moved with practiced efficiency, scanning the creature's wounds. "Besides, when has following protocol ever been my strong suit?" Vincent sighed, lowering his weapon slightly. He'd served with Trinity for 3 years on the frontier world of Kepler, 442b, long enough to know that arguing with her was pointless once she'd made up her mind. "Command is going to have our heads for this. Then we better make sure it's worth it." The war beast, Trinity named it Fetch because of the way it would retrieve things she pointed at, recovered slowly. Command did indeed have their heads about it, but Trinity's stubbornness and her surprising success in handling the creature earned her a reluctant reprieve. Within weeks, something unprecedented happened. Fetch bonded with her. The xenobiologists were astounded. Carxian war beasts weren't supposed to be capable of loyalty or affection. They were genetic weapons, programmed for aggression. Yet Fetch followed Trinity everywhere, its massive form surprisingly gentle around her. When she threw a piece of debris across their camp, calling Fetch, the creature would bound after it and return, mandibles carefully cradling the object. Vincent watched these interactions with bemused fascination. "You've turned a galactic terror into a dog. Dogs were wolves once," Trinity reminded him, scratching behind Fetch's auditory ridge. The creature made a sound somewhere between a purr and a rumble. Everything violent can learn something else. 3 months later, the Carxian remnant forces launched a surprise offensive. Their scouts had infiltrated human territory, mapping defenses and preparing for a devastating strike. Command scrambled to respond, but the enemy was too well hidden in the dense jungle surrounding the human settlements. Trinity stood in the command tent, studying the tactical displays with growing frustration. "They're out there. We know they're out there, but we can't pinpoint them." Fetch sat beside her, its large head tilted as if studying the holographic map. Vincent noticed the creature's attention, its 3 eyes focusing intently on Trinity's worried expression. "You know," Vincent said slowly, "Fetch used to be one of them. It can probably smell Carxian pheromones from miles away." Trinity's eyes widened. She looked down at Fetch, then at the map, then back at her unlikely companion. "That's either brilliant or insane. With you, it's usually both." She knelt down, placing her hands on either side of Fetch's massive head. "Can you find them, buddy? Can you find the bad ones?" Fetch's eyes pulsed with understanding. It rose to its full height, mandibles clicking in a pattern Trinity had learned meant anticipation. She grabbed her gear, and Vincent fell in beside her. "This is a terrible idea," he muttered. "All the best ones are." They moved through the jungle, Fetch leading the way with preternatural grace despite its size. Its nostrils flared constantly, processing scents invisible to human senses. After 2 hours of careful tracking, Fetch suddenly froze, its body going rigid. Trinity raised her fist, signaling a halt. Vincent moved into position, his rifle ready. Fetch looked back at Trinity, its eyes meeting hers in what could only be described as a question. She nodded. "Fetch." What happened next would be analyzed in military academies for decades. Fetch didn't attack or kill, it hunted with surgical precision. The creature moved through the jungle like a shadow, and before the Carxian scout could trigger his distress beacon, Fetch had seized him with surprising gentleness, mandibles carefully immobilizing the enemy without causing fatal injury. The scout struggled and shrieked, but Fetch bounded back toward Trinity, carrying the live enemy combatant like a prize. Vincent stared in disbelief. "Did your pet just capture an enemy scout?" Trinity grinned, already calling for extraction. "Good boy, Fetch. Good boy." The captured scout provided intelligence that dismantled the entire Carxian offensive. Under interrogation, he also revealed something that shook the Galactic Council. The war beasts had never been willing participants in Carxian warfare. They'd been enslaved, controlled through neural implants and chemical conditioning. Fetch's injury had damaged its control implant, freeing it for the first time. When Trinity stood before the council to receive her commendation, Fetch sat beside her, calm and alert. The other species representatives stared at the war beast with a mixture of fear and wonder. Lieutenant Romano, the council chairman, said, "You've demonstrated something we thought impossible. You've proven that even weapons can choose peace." Trinity placed her hand on Fetch's head. "Humans have a saying, there are no bad dogs, only bad owners. I think that applies to more than just dogs." Vincent watched from the audience, shaking his head with a smile. Leave it to Trinity to end a war by teaching a monster to play fetch. Across the galaxy, other war beasts learned of Fetch's freedom. Some would say Trinity Romano didn't just save one creature. She sparked a revolution. But she would always insist she simply gave a scared, hurt being a choice, and Fetch chose kindness. The military formally adopted the Romano Protocol for dealing with Carxian war beasts. Within a year, hundreds had been rehabilitated and integrated into human society. Some became trackers and scouts. Others worked in search and rescue. A few, like Fetch, became symbols of an unlikely alliance. Vincent eventually asked Trinity why she'd risked everything for one wounded alien. She smiled, watching Fetch play with some children in the settlement square, careful and gentle despite its fearsome appearance. Because seeing the humanity in something others call a monster? That's what makes us human, Vincent. That's what makes us worth saving. And somewhere in the jungle, where fear once reigned, hope had learned to fetch.